Okay, so my name is Dominic. I'm married to Christine. We have 5 kids between 21 and 14. We live in a little farm town called Valley Center in northeast San Diego County in California. I work for the fire department. I've been there for a couple decades plus. And I also work with mental health, the fire service. So I'm actually speaking at Denver Metro North in a couple days. I'll be training some of their guys and their peer supporters just on how not to be jacked up with PTSD all the time. Christine, my beautiful wife, she is a mother of 8, 3 in heaven, 5 here. Oh sweet, we got a new sound. That's awesome. Before we had kids, she taught special needs in Carlsbad. She's got a great heart. She now teaches our kids homeschool. She's also an NTP, which is a nutritional therapy practitioner. What that means is you would tell her what you eat, how it makes you feel, and what your food looks like, and she'll tell you how to change your life. And she is the heart and storehouse of me and our kids. She did not want to talk tonight, okay? Because it would have ruined her trip, because she is not a public speaker, but she is going to support me, and she's also going to make sure, validate that everything I say is true. So because of my ego, we have this little thing we do. If she goes like this, it means I'm talking on my ass. That's probably not true. Okay, so if I say something and you see her do that, then she'll clarify what's true, and then we'll move forward. And just a disclosure, Christina, when we got married, our first year of marriage was the worst year of our life. And I would say it got progressively better for about 7 years, but we were a hot mess. And I tell you that because we have a beautiful marriage now, and we have wonderful kids, but it came with a lot of work. Okay, so we don't have any excuses. It can be done. And the other disclosure is that I work at a firehouse, so it's like being in a men's locker room. So if I say something inappropriate, I apologize. I'll try and keep it tight. All right. So tonight we're going to talk about the fathering and the mothering and sons. If you have any questions, there's some paper and pens in the back. Hold on to them because it's like a geriatric assistant note because I can't remember anything. I don't know how you guys are. Write it down, save it for the end. We'll do question and answer. So I want to start out with 2 stories. Recently, we hired this guy, I won't say his name, at the fire service, and this guy, he was so excited to be with us. This guy, he didn't know anything. And when I say that, he knew all of his paramedic stuff, but he had never practiced in the face of other men. He had never practiced under pressure. He had never used any tools. He had just recently started working out. He barely passed our physical ability test. He could barely drag a dummy. And what we found is this guy and a lot of other guys we've been hiring lately, they're getting to the age of being a man, but they haven't become a man. So their desire to enter into these very masculine fields is there. They're like, I want to do that. And they go and they do all the right schooling, they pay the right money, but then they get there and they don't have the formation to rise up. The willingness is there, but the formation isn't there. So I want to contrast that with a funny story. My daughter, who goes to Benedictine, she went on a mission trip and they're basically building houses. And it's all these kids there, boys and girls, and they're like, hey, has anyone out here ever used an air compressor? And she's like, oh, Lucy, you know how to use an air compressor? Yeah, yes, I do. Has anyone ever used nail gun? So Lucy raised her hand. And what about chop saw? And he's like, boys, anybody? And they're all just, quiet and really sad. And it's like, all right, Lucy, you're in charge of baseboards. Boys, you're painting. Okay? So the contrast of the story is just a little teaser on our current state of masculinity. So how do you raise the perfect son? I want to go into the nuts and bolts. And I'm not saying we have perfect sons, and they would agree with me. But we're designed a certain way. There's a different parts of our masculine and feminine hearts that give different parts that build this beautiful base. Okay? And the maternal side is for secure attachment. That creates security. So mothering done well, a baby comes out, take care of it. It always is cared for and fed and nurtured. When it cries, it's picked up and loved and nurtured. And so it develops this safety that no matter what happens, I am going to be tended to and I'm going to be provided for. And that creates secure attachment. That sets up the child to be able to risk leaving the nest to try new things. Okay, so that's mom's gift is security. She offers security. Whereas the paternal side bestows identity. Okay, a father bestows identity, especially in young men. At a certain time, there's a second severing of the umbilical cord where a mother must release her son into the hands of dad, and then dad needs to initiate and father that son, needs to teach him how to be a man. This used to be built into our culture. Okay, before the Industrial Revolution, if you were a boy, you're working. You're going into the field with dad, you're going into the blacksmith shop, you're going to tan hide. Whatever you're doing, you're walking with dad and he's teaching you. He's showing you in ways you can understand in order to make you competent. And not only competent, but confident. Okay, and with us men, the anatomy of confidence is basically we have to practice something with our hands until we've repeatedly done it, till we have a mild state of mastery. And then we have confidence. And you can see this in boys when they're asked to do something they're not good at in front of a girl. Like especially in middle school. You know, like you're at a pool and you're like, hey man, do a backflip. And he's like, I've done a backflip, but never in front of Susie. She's really cute and I might fail. And so he's like, no, I'm not doing it. Okay? But in the face of his peers, with a bunch of other guys, he's all in. We're more comfortable with our peers to try new things than we are in front of the opposite sex. And that is by design. Okay? Our women are supposed to encourage us on to deeper risk. They are supposed to, that look that your wife gives you when she's like, why can't you do that? You know, you're supposed to be like, because she's calling you to deeper masculinity. But we need both. We need that secure attachment and security, and we also need that paternal identity. So at work, I worked on an ambulance for a decade, and what was so crazy, and I would say this has happened at least 200 times, where we'll go on a medical aid, like a broken hip. So we respond to a house, and we walk inside, and there's a 40-plus-year-old man sitting in the living room. And he's like, she's in the back. Like, that's weird. We go in the back, and there's mom. She's on the ground. She's got a broken head. And son's in the front. He's not caring for her. He's watching TV, sitting on the couch. And even as we leave, the mom is like, oh, sweetie, your dinner's in the fridge. You know? And so it's this really interesting illustration where the son was never released to become a man. And sometimes it's a dysfunction on both sides. It is the father never drew him in, the son never attempted to move out on his own, and the mother held on to that emotional attachment of her son and didn't release him. And that's a temptation for mothers. Now, even Christine, when we were doing the initiation process, we have our kids, they start doing their own laundry at 14. And Noah, he'd bring up his hamper and he'd just leave it in the laundry room, you know? And then Christine would wash it. And then he's like, yes, you know? And I'm like, see, stop to use laundry, you know? But there's this desire for him to stay in the nest and to not have to risk. And there's a wonderful, beautiful part of a mother's heart that just wants to continue to provide for her son. But that umbilical cord must be cut. So my dad was a pleaser. My mom, she had just this really gnarly past, just of abuse, and it kind of turned into just a fireball around my high school years, and she became emotionally abusive, and she would just belittle my dad, and my dad would just take it. And it bummed me out. I remember this one time, she came into the room, and she's just like reading the riot act or something really small, and he doesn't even respond, and then she leaves, and I'm like, why do you let her treat you like that? And he said, Dominic, inside that woman is my wife, and I'm going to find her. Now, that was a really beautiful and heroic statement. But his actions, so biggest P, his actions, the way that he addressed that, he's basically like, okay, here's the money to go to counseling. Please figure it out so we don't have to deal with this anymore. It was still passive. Okay, there was this passivity in his pursuit of her. And it made me resent him. And when I eventually got into my own marriage, it made me resent myself. I don't know if any of you men had this experience, but I would feel like a puppy dog in the face of Christine when she was upset or when things weren't going well. And I would kind of tuck my tail between my legs, and I wanted to like stand up and be a man, but I didn't really know how to do it without being a dictator. And so we just have this either passive Dominic or this dickhead Dominic or bad Dominic. And one or the other, but there was nothing in between, like there was no middle ground. And so we started going to counseling, and there was this beautiful woman named Elisa, and she was saying, Dominic, your generation was raised by women. And that's been going on for a century. When your wife is upset, you are seeing her standing on the shoulders of your mother, and she looks like a monster. And you feel like a little boy. And that's really scary. And I didn't want that. And Christine didn't want that. She required my leading, but I was terrified. And so I would resent myself for being this pleaser. And I kept going back and forth, like I was saying, between these two doms. And then as I started to walk with the Lord and ask him questions about it, he revealed to me that I am designed to please my wife. Okay, men, you are designed to please your wife. It's part of your glory. Okay, what does it take to arouse a man? How much? You know, but what does it take to arouse a woman?
A lot.
Okay.
That's my part of the time.
Okay? But consummation done well is a dance of fighting for a woman's heart so that she is disposed to trust, not to grasp, like Eve. Okay? And then to receive. So there's these crazy stats when it comes to parenting. If you have kids who are either raised by dad only, raised by mom only, the ones that are raised by mom only have a really high rate of failure of success. A lot of teenage pregnancy, a lot of suicide, whereas the ones raised by dad only succeed, which doesn't seem fair because paternity is so beautiful and it's such a rich and beautiful experience and all that attachment and glory. But without identity, there's no movement into the actual person. There's this loss of who the person is and how to proceed forward. So this is fascinating. Tim's wife, what was your name again? Christine. I forget that. Christine and I were talking about vaginas the other day because she's an NFP counselor, and so we're gonna go there right now. Okay. So when I was at college, I took a human embryology class, and this is absolutely fascinating. Okay, so during consummation, when the sperm penetrates the ovum, and the head of the sperm is all the DNA of dad. Okay? So sperm breaks in, starts to wear out a little bit, it deposits the DNA, and then the growth of the ovum starts to become the baby. the physicality of the sperm becomes the placenta. There is no part of the female that becomes the placenta. So even in utero, we have sexual roles. The man is there to provide safety and provision and nutrients. But here's back to the whole we're designed to please and this beautiful back and forth is where is the placenta? The placenta is inside the uterus, which is the identifying piece of a woman. That is what makes a woman a woman. Okay? And where is that? It's inside the mother who's pregnant. And where is she? She's vulnerable in society. She is then again protected by the man. Okay, if there's a predator or someone's coming after her, pregnant women don't run well. They run like ducks. And they never enter the Olympics. So they require that further protection. So we have this really beautiful, open, masculine placenta, female uterus, masculine protection. So there's this back and forth that is going on. There's a requirement of mutual vulnerability. Okay? So back to the pleaser. When I was trying to shed the pleaser, I was moving against my nature. My wife is designed to be pleased under my control. Like I said about the pregnant woman. She's vulnerable and she needs me. She needs my protection. And she is permitted to foster that life. In today's society, on the latter pendulum swing of the feminist movement, we're living more on the happy wife, happy life. Okay, so we have husbands that are afraid of Eve, and they're trying to appease, but that it doesn't fly. Happy anyone, happy life doesn't fly. Because we're both very wounded and we're desired to bring that out in each other and to grow. And so I was asking the Lord about this, and I was like, where do you want to go here? And he said to me, the woman is surrendering while her man is becoming. Okay? The woman is surrendering while her man is becoming. The woman wants the man to be perfect from the get-go, and the man wants the woman to be perfect from the get-go. But we're designed to work out that mutual vulnerability together in real time. So, you guys done Alexia with Bina? Does everyone know what it is? Yes. Okay, great. So one of my most favorite meditations on Alexia Divina was the Nativity. And so as I was just asking the Holy Spirit to come, basically, if you picture the scene, Mary's laying on a big stack of hay. She's a sanguine like my wife, so she's like super fun. And so she's laying on Joseph's tunic, and she's wrapped in the rest of his clothes. He's like pretty much naked, maybe wearing a loincloth because he's given all his clothes to his wife. He's got this raging fire. The shepherds have come and gone. He's got a lamb on a spit, and he's rotating. He's like super masculine, and he's serving her up a piece of lamb, and she's like, Joseph, son of David, this is the best lamb I've ever had. And so it's like this beautiful witness of just family in poverty. Just this acceptance of where they are, both living out their masculinity and femininity, and it just works. Now, if the Holy Family was American, Mary would have been shaming Joseph for not making better accommodations. She probably would have kicked the innkeeper out of his own house, and he would have gone to the stable, and he would have received the wise men, the shepherds, and the angels, and none of the story would have happened. Okay? That's feminism at its best in our current culture. So, how does all that transfer into fathering and mothering sons?
Sorry, one sec here. Love this.
Okay. So if mom isn't playing her role of secure attachment, the son isn't disposed to risk. If dad isn't playing his role, bestowing his identity, there's no story. Back to the 40-year-old monk or the 40-year-old living with his mom. Okay? There is a story, but it's been robbed of sanctity. So in Revelation, I believe chapter 2, it says, I will bestow upon him a white amulet, and upon it will be a name inscribed that only he can read. And scripture scholars have basically said that is like saying of it. Okay, so we're given this heart bestowed by the Father, and we're intended to live out this very specific vocation. And a buddy of mine, he once said, God can do anything he wants, but he's choosing not to do this without you. And he was referring to this work like with initiation. And we all have that. There's a part of our life that God is choosing not to do without us. And I would argue your marriage and your parenting, that's definitely, up there. But when we are able to give our kids this secure attachment, security, and bestow identity, it's beautiful. So I want to tell you a story of how it was exercised. Christina and I, we've been going to Joshua Tree with our kids. It's like climbing Mecca of California. It's super fun. And so we've had them in harnesses from a very young age. And then we've developed that into rappelling and other stuff. And then we go on these big trips. So when the kids leave the house, we take them on usually a big canyoning adventure. So Eli, he left for Damascus in May. Yep. And May 23rd, like, I remember my fire. Like, God. So we went on this trip, and it was Eli and a couple of his friends. It was my son Noah and my daughter Addie. And so we're all going to rappel this multi-pitch canyon called Mystery Canyon. It goes from the top of Zion down to the Narrows. Super fun. So the night before we're going to go, Addie breaks into a fever. And I'm like, oh, crap. Like, I know my kids can't do this without me. And so I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I don't want to bomb this trip for Eli. This is his one chance. And so I'm trying to figure out. And Noah comes up to me. And he's like, Dad, I'll stay back. So Noah's 21. Noah moved his entire schedule to go on this trip. He's a film major. He's filming actively. He's doing all his editing. He has a senior project that's due. And he moved his schedule to go on this trip because he was longing for adventure. And Noah is very capable of doing this route. He's confident. He has exercised his masculinity over and over in this field, and he's more than competent and capable to do this. But the place where courage came in was for him to know that he can do it, but that he can also give it up and be with his little sister so that his brother could go on this trip. And I was so proud. When I came back after we did the whole thing, Addie was like, yeah, it's such a great day. And Noah took me down to the river and we just soaked. And then he took me to ice cream in town. And and then she was hanging out with Eli in the tent and they were playing cards. And Noah came up to me and he goes, Dad, I wanted to go so bad. But it just filled my heart. Because, as I said, he's confident from his exercise and he was courageous in his action. And that's what we need to build in our sons. Okay, is that confidence and courage. Confidence is earned through the repetition of action, and courage is the exercise of risk when we're afraid. I was telling you guys this morning, those of you who were there, courage doesn't count if you're not afraid. Okay, courage is only present when you are afraid. Okay, so if you want to be courageous, doing the things that you're good at, that's not courageous. Okay, that's just mastery. God is always calling us exercise courage, core, heart, into the things that we're doing. My boys, when they were young, they were not confident until they had done something and mastered it. And I'm not either. So they had to have several repetitions in order to feel good, especially in front of women. In front of men, no problem. But they need to be invited into a process. Okay, so story, my son Eli, he joined the police cadets when he was 16 there. So he joined the Escondido police cadets. He wanted to be a cop. And they basically go through academy. They kick the crap out of him. Every time they go down there, they do all this BT. They yell at him. And so they're doing this police action. I don't remember what it is. But they messed it up. And the instructor goes, damn it, you guys, sprint to the Connex box back. And so all just take off sprinting. Not towards the Connex box, just like towards the street. And they're all running as fast as they can. And the instructor goes, and Eli's in front. And he's like, Eli! He's like, sir, yes, sir. He's like, do you know what a Connex box is? He's like, sir, no, sir. Okay? But he's being invited into this process that he knows nothing about, but he's allowed to risk. He's allowed to try. He's allowed to fail. He's allowed to get it wrong. Okay? And that's the process of initiation. To do it imperfectly. Okay? And the young man learns that risk isn't just scary. It's a doorway to something they might enjoy, but they must be invited. Okay? And that's by design. I can't tell you how many times I was doing something with my kids. Whether we were using a chop saw where you could lose your fingers, or whether we're jacking up a car and putting it on stilts and working underneath it, where they were terrified the first time. But when they were done, the most common phrase they would say was, "Oh, that wasn't that bad." So the template is, as we invite our children into this process of initiation, it's not that bad. And they start to develop this mastery, which translates into confidence. But until it's practiced, it remains in the category of mysterious fear. And so I had like 110 things that I gathered from all these other men, and I started to train them in all these things. And I was pushing them to this destination of checking the box on this task. And it didn't go well because I wasn't very kind, I wasn't very patient, because the goal wasn't to walk with my son. The goal was for them to finish what we were doing. And as I was doing that, and as the fruits were terrible, because my sons were like, "Yeah, this isn't even fun." I'm inviting them into this initiation process, and they don't want to do it. And so what I realized is, in talking with the Lord, is that's how I thought he worked with me. I thought the Lord had this giant task list with me, and how I perform would dictate whether I was loved. And if I was honest, that was the same thing I did with Christine. I was trying to perform, and I was like, "Hey, do you love me? Like, if I do this really well, will you love me?" Because that's the curse of a man, by the sweat of our brow. Okay, we are trying to prove that we are worthy of love. But with my sons, I already unconditionally love them. I love them because they existed. And so as I moved away from the idea of finishing this task list and just walking with them, I'm like, okay, the goal is no longer to finish a task. It's just to be so intentional and have fun moving forward in these tasks, building confidence. And then we just started to have a blast. And we started doing things that I didn't know how to do. And my kids would totally rip on me and make fun of me because they were better at me. They were better at it than I was. And but to learn and doing that, Christine and I, we started to get much more of a template of the Father's heart. Is that he's not so concerned about your bank account. He's not so concerned about how elevated you are in your work. He's not so concerned about all these task lists. He just wants to walk with you. He wants to father you in this life. He wants to walk alongside you. And if you read the scriptures, how many times does it say, the Lord said to Moses, and Moses said to the Lord said to Moses. There was a holy man in Damascus named Ananias, and the Lord said to him, there is this walking with God that is by design. And we are designed to do the same with our children because we're made in his image and likeness. So how does that look as fathers and mothers? For women, I think it comes down to the courage to surrender, not to grasp the fruit when your senses are telling you, God is not coming through for me. I need to provide for myself. He's holding out on me. I have to take control. And for men, it is the courage to risk, to rise up by nature and pursue the life-giving act that will not take place without our participation. Okay, as men, we have to rise up in order to be fruitful. It's in our biology. That's what we're made for. But the truth is we're all insecure. Okay? And that's okay. Welcome to the club. Insecurity is supposed to be the trailhead for mastery. It's supposed to be the place that we're like, oh yeah, I go suck here. let's risk moving forward. Sometimes we hide it by being too big or being too small, but it's an invitation to grow. And what better way to grow than with a perpetual witness that sole vocation is just to love people? Does that make sense? Want to add in bonus for there? All right. Do we do questions now? Yeah. Okay, does anyone have any questions? Joe, something to say? Chris?
Yeah, actually, can everyone just give it up for Dominic?
Okay. Yeah, and just real quick, we are now talking about the actual process of initiation tonight, obviously, because it's in the book. Please feel free to ask any questions about it. But after we finished this process within our family, we had so many people that are asking about it just because of just the fruit with our sons and then working with other men. And it was so beautiful, and it became very communal within our community, and it started to spread out. And we didn't really have the bandwidth to explain it to everyone anymore. We started doing a couple of retreats, but even now it's too much. And so through the generosity of a group called Patriarch in Denver, they actually paid to have it published. And I have a full-time job. I don't need money selling books. Okay, but the mission is to get it out. The mission is to rescue fatherhood. And so tonight, if you'd like to buy a book, please do. And I'd like to offer, if you do buy one, take an extra one for free and just give it to another man or give it to a young man. There's been so many young men that have been reading it, and it's developing them as who they want to be when they become fathers. Okay, so the mission is to rescue fatherhood. Okay.
Yeah, that was here.
So maybe this is best for Christine. Is what would you suggest for mothers? How do we best support that? If really our goal is to surrender at some point, and we have 4 boys. They're 11, 9, 7, and 5.
Oh.
So we're in the thick. Parenting. And so just like the practicality, what does that look like for it to step back to kind of a sport? It's hard.
Right. Yeah. So I would say in the very beginning when Dominic started it, it was very hard for me because I had the younger kid that I was caring for. And so when he was initiating Noah and he would take Noah places and do things with Noah, it was just really hard on me because he's a firefighter who's gone for 24 hours, 72 hours at a time. And so I would, to be completely honest with you, I was a little bit resentful at the beginning, and it was very, very hard for me to surrender. And so I think with time and seeing the fruits of the initiation and what it did for Noah and what it did for my younger kids, like watching Noah get initiated and I was really excited about it, slowly I became more and more supportive. And it really, I could just honestly, it was a sacrifice that I made. And I was kind of kicking and screaming at the beginning. So to be completely honest with you. So it's a lot of work for mom because you're left back and you kind of want to be part of the adventure and you're not. Right. So, but yeah, I would say definitely it takes time, but the Lord supported me in that, gave me grace. And it's sacrificial on mom's part to let go and let dad do that with the boys. And
Tell a story about this.
Did you do with Janice adventure things with all of you so that there were adventures that were part of it? Sometimes I feel like that's the struggle is there's only so many hours of the day and in the week and in the year or whatever. But I know even Colin's the older 2, camping 2 summers ago. And it was just that. And I stayed back and did mommy camping. If I'm being totally honest, camping, period, is not my jam. So mommy camping, the send up in here with the glow-up mattress and popcorn in a movie was way more my speed anyway. But I felt like I was missing out if I should be there. But the reality was when he came back, those older 2, and it's just the 3 of them, came back glowing. They talked about how they used knives to carve nonsense out of sticks and like, I mean, great. Which to be honest, I don't actually have desire to do it.
Right.
But there was the part of me that, similar to you, like felt like I was missing out. I should be there, but I saw even just in that one weekend of how much they drew and their confidence in camping, setting up stuff, and cooking. I don't know, being a man in the woods, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Dom was saying it should share the story. So when Noah was done with his initiation, it was his final ceremony, and it was really beautiful because Dominic invited me to be there, even though I wasn't, necessarily.
Not a cue.
Yeah, not a cue ball. So I was just there to observe. And it was really beautiful because what happened was I watched Noah get covered in pond scum as the men were talking about salvation history and sin. And then afterwards, Noah did the Station for the Cross. And there was a flower at each station, and I just felt led to follow him, like far behind. Like I was at a distance, but I was watching, which is really symbolic. It was really beautiful. And so I just followed slowly behind. And after every station, I picked up a flower and I just held it. And it was just, I just was praying for Noah, like this whole time. And it was just really beautiful. And then all of a sudden, I'm probably going to cry. Noah comes to the point where he reaches Father John, which is his godfather. And Father John is priest. He's a father. And he just embraces Noah. And all of a sudden, I felt the presence of Our Lady with me. And she was just saying, like, I let my son go. Like, I allowed him to be crucified and to go through all these hard things. And I watched it. And I felt at that time, Our Lady was just asking me to let go of my son and to hand him over to the Father. And that he was going to take care of him. And that I was still there and I was going to love him and pray for him. But I wasn't going to be there, like, 2 years older. But all of a sudden Our Lady's like, I did it. I'm here with you. I'm your mother, and you can do it too. And so she was such a beautiful example. There was so much grace. And I would say that was a very pivotal moment for me as mother, because it's really hard to let go. It's really, really hard because we love them so much, So, yeah, so I would encourage, like, you are part of it. Like, you being at home and watching your other children as a sacrifice for your other sons, and that's beautiful. And you are part of it. He comes home to you, you love on, and you are part of so much. Yeah. So, thank you. Hopefully that's helpful.
Hi. So I'm trying, one of my struggles with science is helping them to identify, like, if there is, let's say that there's, like, they want to drive a car. They really want to be able to drive a car. And then there is other things you have to do in order to be able to do that, like, got to change the oil in the vehicle in order to have the car that works well enough for you to drive it. And so trying to figure out how to build the intrinsic motivation to do the things that they don't want to do, even when they don't want to do it, they just want the reward. But to be able to just push through and do hard things that they don't see that it's an immediate correlation, or if it's something that they want to do for somebody else. Or how do we build the motivation to just do hard things even when they don't want to?
So part of the beauty of the formal initiation process is during those formal years, like for us, it was 12 to 14, they knew from a very young age that they were going to enter into that. And that's what that was going to be. And we even laid it out for them, and they had the task list. They knew they're going to enter into this. They had these 12 men that were calling them, hey, I want to do this one with you. I want to teach you how to, shoot guns, or I want to teach you how to skin a goat, or I want to, teach you these different things. And so because of the culture of initiation, even if they don't want to do it, they know they're going to. And we would incentivize them. I don't know if you've read the book, but we would give them initiation Cokes. So anytime we're doing a task, they don't drink soda. We just kept a big case of Coke in our garage fridge. And a lot of our tasks would be like, hey, go grab the socket set, a Coke, I'm gonna meet you by the car. And so it just became like this normal thing. My oldest son now, he still hates changing his oil. but he knows how to do it. You know, he's moving out August 1st, and I was doing all the cars. And just out of love, I was like, hey, no, I'll bring your car now and change the oil for you. And he's like, this is my last freebie. I'm like, you're right, it is. I said, hey, you can take it to the shop. Only cost you $100. You know? So he, even though he doesn't want to do it, because he has walked through the process of learning how to do it, he's going to be able to do it. Okay, you're not going to be able to take the lazy out of your kids. We're still going to run into that. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to set them up for success so that they're capable. You know, my son was doing set building, and all these guys came over and were supposed to build this massive set, and this kid was hammering in screws. And so Noah goes over to him. He's like, hey, bro, you ever used a hammer before? And he's like, no. And so he bothered him and just taught him how to do simple freight. He's like, number one, you don't use screws. Number two, let's get some nails. And he just showed him how to do it. And that kind of empowerment for him and bestowing it upon his peers was really awesome. And then his other buddies started to come to him. You know, the girls at school to be like, hey, no, I think my brakes are going out. Can you help me change my rotors? And if, you know, she's cute enough, he'd say yes. And if not, then he would say no. But it just depended on the situation. But the idea is that we're walking him through this progression of confidence. So no matter what it is, even if they've never done it, they're like, it's not that bad. I'm going to shot. Does that make sense? Okay, good.
Something not incentive, like hope, like whatever they really enjoy or like that has to.
Yeah, where it's training.
Right.
Yeah.
So I might be a unique case. What would you recommend? I'm a widow. I had 2 boys. How do I cope? So that happen.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That's really hard. Masculinity dispels masculinity. So what I would offer to you is I don't know if you've read the book. I would still read the book, and I would invite other men into the process of masculine initiation. Now, if you want, you take as many books as you want for those men that you want to bring into the process for free, for sure. And just invite them and say, hey, I need help initiating my boys in masculinity because I'm not masculine. And so, would you help me? And give them the book. Be like, read through this, and I want to do just some Cliff's Note version. I know you all have your own families, but I just need a little bit of help. And watch for who your boys gravitate to. You know, because they're hungry for a father. How old are they? Yeah. No, they're good. They're gonna be starving for masculine validation. So watch who they go to, and reach out to those men. Because it takes a village. Does that answer your question? Okay. Yes, Jacob.
I knew you were going to do that.
First of all, your talent slot.
San Diego, baby.
Yeah. And would you just say, could you just contrast your initiation with Lucy, your daughters, or what has happened with Dominic?
Could you say that last part again?
Can you contrast your initiation of the girls versus Dominic and the boys?
Sure, absolutely. So after Dom initiated Noah, he turned to me and said, now it's your turn. And I had no idea that I was going to initiate my girls. And I wanted to, but to be honest with you, I was terrified because I was just extremely insecure. And part of me felt like, I don't even think I know what it's like to be a woman. So just stepping into starting to initiate with Lucy, it was very scary for me. But I knew in my heart that the Lord had made me Lucy Adelaide's mom, and that he made me especially for my daughters. And so I knew that I had something in me that they needed. And so honestly, when I first started, I basically followed a lot of Dom's things, like the task list. The girls did the task list mostly with Dad. A lot of them with Dad. Yep, we modified a lot of them. So they weren't kind of, use all the instruments and do tire changing and oil changing and all that good stuff. Some things that I changed with my girls is one thing, we have different rules for the girls than we do for the boys. Should I mention her? Or tell me?
Yeah, I mean, then would you guys? That's okay. You guys want to know the rules?
Want to know some things? Okay. Let me open the POC.
So if you guys have read the book, there's rules for the boys. Life is hard. I'm not in control. I'm not that important.
I will die.
Yeah, I'm gonna die. But there's a number for it. I can't remember.
It's actually really funny. So those rules my son wrote on a cup at a party one time, and my girlfriend came up to me, and she's like, "I'm a little concerned about your son." I saw these things written on her cup. It was pretty funny. So for the girls is life is hard. The second one is I am not in control. My beauty is a gift. I am the Lord's, not my own. And consider God, all people, and then myself. And we end those with scriptures, like towards the end of our initiation. That comes full circle to certain scriptures, which I do not have tonight.
Both one more time.
Sure. Life is hard. I am not in control. My beauty is a gift. I am the Lord's, not my own. Consider God, all people, and then myself. So a couple things I did different with the girls, like we did a collage of the rules. So we hung out together and just spent a day just collaging all the different rules and talking about them and getting their input on them. And then another thing I do with my girls, so in the initiation process, the kids have 12 mentors. So the girls have 12 women that lead and guide them through the process as well. So they 1 to 2 times a year, they'll do something, teach the girls something, or just build relationship with them. And I actually found that with the girls, that was the most important part, was the relationship with me, relationship with the women, because we're just so hard. So it was just really beautiful to watch my girls build these relationships with other women and learn different things from other women. So what we do is we go to a floral shop and we talk about beauty and we talk about identity and talk about insecurity. And we go in the shop and the girls pick a flower for each woman and they describe why they chose that flower. So by the end, we have this beautiful bouquet of all these different flowers and we take a picture and send it to the woman and we tell them why we chose it. And we just talk about how we're all so different and individually beautiful and how we all bring different things to the table and how each of their mentors bring something different to the table and how beautiful it is, like the body of Christ coming together. So that's another thing we do. And then the end ceremony for the girls is very different than the boys.
We don't cover it.
We don't put them in the mud pond. So for the girls, I have all the women pray about a word for my daughter. And I ask them to write a letter on why they chose that word for my daughter. And we go to the church and each woman is at a station. Oh, and I get rings. So, actually for Lucy, I got rings and it has the word on the ring. And then for my daughter, Lily, we got necklaces. And so it has the word there. So each woman has their gift for her, whether it be a ring or a necklace. And they have their letter that they wrote. And then my daughter writes a thank you letter to each woman and has a rose. And so she goes to the first station. They pray the first station. And then my daughter reads her thank you letter, or gives her thank you letter and a rose. And then the woman reads the letter to her and then hands her the ring or the necklace as a gift. And then she shifts to each station and has that moment with each woman. And then in the end, we go before the tabernacle and we pray over my daughter me, Dominic, all the women. And Dominic actually leads her in. So Dominic's at the last station. And Dominic speaks with her and then leads her before the tabernacle. She kneels before the tabernacle. We all pray over her. And I have a beautiful friend of Lucy's that makes flower crowns. And so we crown her with a flower crown. And we read Isaiah 62, which you are a royal diadem. And then you are a spouse. You're a bride of Christ. It's really beautiful. And so that is our end ceremony for the females. So those are kind of a few things that we do differently for the girls. So, yeah.
And like Christine said, the girls, there's way more focus on relationships, whereas the boys, there's a lot more focus on mastery of tasks because building their confidence. I think girls come with a little bit more natural confidence. Their ego is different. It's not as scared in front of others to try things. Often if a girl is invited and she's safe, she's willing to try things, whereas, boys are afraid of being embarrassed. And so, and we've learned a lot. There's things we do different. We're hoping, like, in a couple decades that our book is obsolete and it's been done way better. Okay, like, if we could do it over, we probably would have started female initiation sooner. Maybe like latter 10-year-old or 11, because girls, when they start to hit the hormones, they go crazy, and it's when no, not really, but it's harder for them to receive free, and so we would have started a little bit earlier for girls. Does that answer your question, Jacob? Well, all right, perfect.
We've got time for one more question right here. And just so everyone's aware, Dominic, Chrissy are going to be in the back, so if you have any questions, feel free to go up and ask.
Bring the questions on me. Last question. I guess, maybe I'm the right person to ask, and I don't want to be a downer in the room, but we struggle with a lot of things as a father. My dad was a verbally abusive dad, and didn't set a bad example for me. So I got 4 kids, 1 boy and 3 daughters. So I'm all over the place. I need a lot of help. That's not here, and that's I'm gonna be reading a book. I guess if someone's trying to detach their parenting from the failures of their father, I mean, I'm seeking your help. I'm seeking God's help. I'm in adoration, with super help of adoration, confessions. I'm trying to check all the boxes of being a Catholic and receiving God's divine help. But besides therapy, what would you say to someone in that position with a terrible outbreak? I guess.
Yeah, you have an empty toolbox.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really hard. So, you have a choice. Do you want the kids to have an empty toolbox?
Well, definitely not.
No, the answer is no. So, my mom, I mentioned how she was just voraciously abused her entire childhood, and a lot of abused people become abusers. It's a cyclical thing, and the reason is, if you do no work on your own heart, you'll become your parents. Okay, it's like the free foundation that you get. So if you do nothing, you'll become your parents. The work that you're going to improve off of that is who you are. So you have a choice. So abuse, in my mom's side, has gone back as many generations as they can recollect. But it stopped with my mom. Okay, did she nail it in all the categories? No. Was she a hot mess? Yes. Did she abuse any of us? No. Did she love us? Yes. Did it come out of her ass? Yeah. Like every day, she had to grit it and make a choice against her nature. Okay? And we all have that in different ways. I have my ways that my dad didn't give to me. And Christine has, out of love for her children like you, she moved out of it. And I wish I could say there was an easy way, but you're good in the things you practice. And nothing is free. There's no shortcuts. So you just have to practice. Look around you. Look at the ones that you like how they're doing it. Imitate them. Talk to them. Sit at their feet and ask them to explain to you how to do it. If things come up, ask questions. No seek venture. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I'm gonna be doing the core men's group here and doing there's also fathers faith formation group that meets every Saturday, so there's gonna be a part of those that for
Okay.
6 years. Sure.
Yeah, do it. Yeah. Is there a lot more questions? Like, just raise your hand if you were going to ask a question. Okay, just two? You think we could squeeze in two more?
Yes.
Yeah, worst case, get my signature in the book. Walk on. No, it wouldn't be able. Yeah, so go for it. Oh, you want to take a mic?
It doesn't mind, so that's how we will switch up.
I'm mysterious whether they're choosing memoirs for girls or boys. Like, you choose someone that you would say, like, oh, they're talented in this skill and also in their faith. Or, like, you allow, like, an uncle who's good at fishing, who isn't Catholic, to, like, be one of.
We're looking for authentic masculinity and authentic femininity. But for the most part, you're just looking for authentic masculinity and authentic femininity. Does that make sense? Okay.
So, your point on being raised by women resonates. Being a people pleaser also resonates. So, in your marriage, how do you balance that? What's the right level of people pleasing yet masculinity and the reception between the two of you guys? I guess speaking as a couple, what do you recommend as in terms of finding that balance right equally?
Well, Christina and I have a few ground rules in our marriage. We talked about in the book about it. No one's allowed to be uncharitable. Okay, so you just have that rule. If one of you is being uncharitable in your conversation, you're like, you're being uncharitable. And they have to stop. And if they can't stop, then you're like, okay, we're not going to talk about this right now. Because you're not allowed to use each other. Okay, so you have that ground rule. And another really good one is blame. And when one of you has an abnormal reaction to a normal situation. And the reason is, so blame discharges pain. So, I want you to try this as homework. When someone is blaming anything or blaming you, try and figure out why they're blaming. They're discharging pain. So if you can learn to listen to your spouse in their blame, in their hurt, you can be like, okay, is that actually mine? Christina will be like, I was up all night, the kids were vomiting, you were at work for 3 days. I'm so mad, I hate your job, And I think to myself, okay, does Christine really hate my job? Does she want to be homeless? No. So this isn't really mine. She's just discharging pain. So I can just kind of like, let that go. It's not mine. I don't have to be offended. I don't have to make a big deal about it. Okay, but if it is something, then I need to apologize. She's like, hey, promised to take me out last Friday. Friday came, you didn't say anything, we didn't do anything. It's like you didn't even care. And I was like, you're right. I'm so sorry. We're going out tonight. We don't have any money. Oh well, we put it on the credit card. So I make reparations for that. So listen to that blame and address it. Okay, that's one way of communication. And then whenever either of you has an abnormal reaction to a normal situation, you're stepping into wound territory. And it's not real. Okay, it probably has nothing to do with you. You can very calmly be like,
You mean your spouse?
Correct. So you can ask questions. Wow, you seem really upset. And all I did was ask you this really simple question. And they might still be upset, but they might still be in that wound. And you can, if you want to be a real hero, you can just be like, I love you. And they're like, no, I want to fight you. You're like, too bad, I love you. Because you know what's going on. And so you, being the sane one in the moment, can actually engage in that. And that's the beauty of marriage, because you have a perpetual witness. As far as the roles go, You are the man. Okay? You are designed to rise up, to fight. She is designed to receive and to nurture and to love. You have to be in those roles. Okay? If she is having to lead and make all the decisions all the time, then that is disordered. You should learn her heart enough to make the right decisions. Like now it's interesting because I'll make a decision and Christine will have like pyramid pods. And she'll be like, okay. Whereas before, it'd be like, yeah. I'm like, I know where I'm going, you know? And now I'm just like, oh, wow, she's being really submissive. I could tell, I don't even know if she agrees with me. And what it does is it makes me reconsider what I'm doing and actually consider it even more out of love because she's submissive. You know, so she's actually getting what she wants and I'm getting what I want. We're learning how to do love better. Does that make sense? Does that make you push? Kinda? Turn. Good.